Hello, everybody, and welcome to ShuttleOps' first webinar post-launch. We're excited to have everybody here. ShuttleOps is a new platform helping to bring a no-code approach to CI/CD and help you deploy applications quickly and efficiently and securely within your organization. We're very excited to be myself. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jason Kretsch. I lead up our sales efforts here and really focused on client demand and the opportunity to connect with individuals out in the community. I'm also joined by our main presenter, Damath Karunaratne, who is our CEO, longtime DevOps expert, experienced in the world of Chef Habitat as well as DevOps solutions. We wanted to provide this context slide because after this, we're going to spend a little bit of brief time going through the platform, some of its key capabilities, etc. But should you have any questions or want to go deeper on the platform or connect with us personally, our contact information is shared here. We'll also be posting the slides and content and recording of this webinar on our website. So please feel free to access it later if you miss any key parts of it. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Damath to take us through some of the core value of ShuttleOps and what we think a no-code solution will bring, as well as showcase the product and its capabilities. So over to you, Damath.
Thanks, Jason. As Jason mentioned, before we started into our ShuttleOps journey, we spent the last 5 years delivering DevOps solutions to organizations of all sizes, starting from startups all the way to the Fortune 10. We partnered with technology leaders in the DevOps space to deliver innovative solutions. And during this time, we really saw the pain that customers were feeling when they were trying to deliver applications. And at the end of the day, that's really what DevOps is trying to do. It's trying to change the culture and introduce better ways to deliver applications so companies can continue to drive growth as well as innovation. And if we were to dig a bit deeper into that pain, it really all starts with what we're calling the application delivery gap. So on the left-hand side here, you see the applications, and these could be in-house applications, legacy, cloud native, or COTS applications you bought off the shelf. And the objective is to try to get that to production where it can bring value to the organization, generate revenue, cut costs, at the end of the day, have some sort of ROI. And what we find is going from left to right is not a trivial task. So if we look at what that ecosystem looks like today, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of point solutions that need to be integrated in order to get that end-to-end application delivery pipeline. And when we talk about integrating all these pieces, there are a few different challenges that come to mind. And these challenges span technology, people, process, and culture. And so if we were to dive a bit deeper into these challenges, we can see that from that previous slide, application delivery is complex. There's a lot of different applications. There's no one right way to do it. And within organizations, we see the fragmentation of different teams using different tools to try and deliver their applications. So some teams may only use a couple tools, others may use half a dozen, and that can cause a lot of stress in the application delivery process, especially when you think about how that may align to business processes. The other piece that makes this even more challenging is what we're calling the skill gap. And so in order to integrate all these disparate tool sets, you require a lot of resources that are skilled and knowledgeable in how these tool sets are implemented and then integrated. There are very few people, I think, out there that can really do all of that end to end. And even if you are able to find those people, keeping those people within your organization to complete the initiative and then maintain those technologies afterwards can be very challenging. There's been numerous times when we were working with organizations and we saw that people would leave mid-initiative because the DevOps market is hot. They would go to another opportunity and that project would be left stalled. The last piece of that, which I briefly hinted on, was maintaining the automation. And this is something we find tends to be forgotten at times. And it's not enough just to get that automation implemented. There's also a significant amount of effort in order to maintain these platforms. And, one fact I'll pull into this is Google and their management of some of their cloud infrastructure. So they recently did an upgrade from Terraform 0.11 to 0.12. and it took them 10,000 man hours to upgrade that automation. And I know we're not all Google, but that just goes to show that there is real effort involved in maintaining your automation once it's actually in place. So these are some of the large challenges we see today within the DevOps space. And so with that, we really, stepped back and thought about how can we, help solve this, right? And that's where we really came up with no-code CI/CD to help bridge the gap to be able to simplify the equation. And what no-code CI/CD is really about is bringing your application and your ecosystem, connecting it into a no CI/CD platform that will help you manage the build and deploy process more seamlessly. And then once your applications are deployed, be able to manage that in a consistent way across the different types of environments and the different types of cloud providers that are out there today. And what this really allows organizations to do is it really allows them to focus on innovation. And so this allows developers to focus on the left here, which is building the applications and building that innovation for the organization, and then packaging that application up as developers know how to do. They're the ones making the application. They're the ones that know how it should be run. And so being able to package that up and then connect that into a no-code platform gives them an accelerated way to deliver these applications. And once it's connected in, that's where the operations teams can take over and get it to all the different environments that are required. And with that, I want to jump right into a demo and just show you guys what no-code CI/CD means in the context of ShuttleOps. So when you are greeted with the ShuttleOps login screen, you'll notice a couple things here. So one, we support the three major source control platforms, GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. But one piece that's really near and dear to my heart is the local login here. And this is really how we allow business stakeholders to be part of that DevOps conversation. So if you don't have access to source control, you can still participate in the DevOps process instead of being an afterthought. For today's walkthrough, I'm just going to log in here with GitHub. And once I log in, you'll see that you're presented with the Connect page. And the Connect page gives me a central location to set up all the credentials for my team and connect to all the cloud providers and source control tools. In the future, we will have support for Docker containers in here as well to support native Docker integrations. But right now, we facilitate multi-cloud deployments as one of our key capabilities. So for today, we're connected to AWS, GitHub, and the Chef Habitat Depot to build and help deploy our applications. And so once you're all set up here and your teams are all set up, the next thing you can do is have the developers go set up their build pipelines. So let's go take a look at that. So on the build section, I already have two pipelines set up here for two applications. One is a Node.js web application, and one's a Spring Boot application. So I'll just dive into the Node.js web app. So if I click edit here, the first thing I'll know, the first thing I'll see within the pipeline editor is the sections on the left-hand side here. These are the tasks that can be dragged and dropped into the pipeline to build out that no-code pipeline. And so we have triggers here, which will allow users to deploy code from commits to their source control or to trigger code builds from pipeline executions, as well as on a predetermined schedule. There's a code block here that allows users to set up the actual code they want to build, as well as notifications to notify individuals are required to be notified as part of the build process. The other piece here that you'll notice is gates. And these gates is how we integrate the business processes into your pipeline. So you can drag and drop the gates to add approvals, acknowledgements, or time delays, depending on regulatory or SLA needs you have within your organization. And so I'm just going to dive here into the code block just to show you how no-code builds work. So in order to do a no-code build, you can expand the code block, and you see I already have this web app Node.js set up. But if we were to set up another build, it's just simple as clicking the add button and then selecting the repo you want to build from GitHub. And so I'm not going to select that right now since I already have one set up. And that's it. That's all you have to do to get no code builds going. And if I hit launch, the build has started. So now instead of traditionally going into a CI tool and setting up a coded build process, you were able to do that with a few simple clicks. And if I click into that running pipeline, you'll see there's the pipeline execution history, as well as details around the execution. So we can see when it was triggered, who ran the build, as well as all the pipeline execution steps that were executed. And we have logs streaming in real time as well. So from a development perspective, they're the ones building and packaging the app. If the developer runs into a build issue, they'd be able to see exactly what's going on here. And if I click on one of the previous executed builds, you can see the full log output is present here for them to really dig into what happened as part of the build process. So while that application's building, let's go take a look at how an operator may do a no-code deploy. So once I click on the deployment tab, I'm presented with all my deployment pipelines. As you can see, I have a few deployment pipelines here that span multiple environments. I'm actually going to dig into this monitoring application this time around. And what I can see, again, when I go in here is it's very similar to the build pipelines. One of the main differences here, though, is this destination section. So this allows me to define what applications I'm deploying and what cloud providers they're going to. So let me open up the application component section and dive a bit deeper into it. And when we're talking about application configurations, one of the things I do want to highlight is we try to deploy applications in a infrastructure agnostic way. And so what that means is we configure the applications outside of the infrastructure here. And the reason that's important is in a dev environment, you may want to take that application and deploy it onto a single server for a user. In a production environment, that same application may span multiple servers to be more robust. So traditionally, if you wrote your infrastructure as code, or if you were using the web consoles available from the major cloud providers, you would have to set this up manually for your different environments, where here you're able to accomplish it within a few clicks. And we'll get to that in a minute. So to configure an application, what you can do is click add here. And so there's a couple places you can add an application from. You can select an application that was created through your build pipeline. Or there's another option of selecting from a habitat builder. And there's a public habitat builder available from Chef Software that has hundreds of pre-packaged applications already ready to deploy. But if you have your own builder as well, you can pick applications from there. And so right now, we have two applications selected. There's one called Grafana and one called Prometheus. And this is a standard metrics aggregation platform familiar to a lot of people in the DevOps community. That's used for monitoring and aggregating infrastructure metrics. And so Grafana requires Prometheus as a backend database to be able to function. And if I want to configure how Prometheus and Grafana will behave, I can click this little gear, and it will bring up the configurations for the application I can edit. Now, one of the key things with these configurations is what we do is we save these configurations on a per environment basis for your pipelines in a secure vault. And so your passwords and all your app configurations are securely stored and maintained for you across all your different environments. So you don't have to worry about the wrong environment getting the wrong configuration or how to actually set up and store your configurations on your own. The other piece I want to highlight here is service discovery. And so some of you may be familiar with service discovery and its capabilities, and it's really about allowing applications to communicate to each other without identifying specific information about the infrastructure. For instance, like their IP address. So typically in a traditional sense, if I wanted my front end to talk to a backend database, I would have to specify that this front end application is going to connect maybe to this DNS or this IP address. But what we have here is a section called binds. And with binds, you can tell your front end to talk to the Prometheus backend, and it doesn't matter where that backend lives. As long as it's available in that same network, they can communicate to each other. And that makes for a very dynamic application environment, but that also allows you to be flexible on how you deploy your applications across your environments. And so once you're done configuring the application components, you can now go configure your deployments. And in this case, we're going to be deploying to the cloud. And so right now, I have one server in AWS set up with both the Grafana and Prometheus components. I can click on the edit button here just to see the different options that are available to edit and configure the server with. So you can select the server sizes. If I'm deploying a cluster of servers, I can just increase the instance count, and I could instantly have multiple servers come online. And I can also adjust the storage sizes. The other items we're able to configure here are your security rules for your firewalls for the server, your DNS, you may need load balancers, as well as startup scripts. This may seem a bit odd because we're no CI/CD platform, but we fully realize there's going to be edge cases that we may not be able to accommodate right away. So the startup scripts allow you to address those edge cases. And so that's all that was needed to configure applications to deployment to the cloud. So traditionally, again, this would have been a very manual process, or you'd have to write quite a bit of code in order to be able to configure the pipelines as well as the provisioning. But in under a couple of minutes, we actually have a deployment pipeline ready and available to launch into the cloud. Now, going back to the deploy, I just want to show one more pipeline here, just to compare and contrast what dev and prod could look like. And so in the prod pipeline, again, very similar configuration for the same application, right? It has that same service discovery we inherited from dev. But now this time, we're actually deploying across two servers. And so we don't have to change anything with the configuration. We just have to say that one server is going to come up and it's going to have the Grafana front end, and another server is going to come up and have the Prometheus backend, and they'll know how to communicate, and there's no coding required to be able to do the service discovery. And the other part I want to highlight is the approval gates. So a lot of organizations, in order to deploy to production, require some sort of checks and balances. And with approval gates, you're able to accomplish that with ShuttleOps. So you can set up teams or individuals to approve, and given that they do approve the deployment to production, the deployment will continue. And all that information is audited and readily available. So again, there's no manual steps in providing custom code to be able to set up all these gates. So now that you've deployed to dev and prod, and you've deployed a few applications, the last thing to do is really manage these applications once they're live. And to do that, we can head to the Manage tab. And one of the things we notice in the Manage tab is that we can see all the applications consolidated. And so we have a quick view into the applications across their environments. I'm just going to click in here. And we can see our monitoring application is deployed to dev and prod. We have 100% health on both servers. And we can see that there's, in dev, the two packages, Prometheus and Grafana, deployed to one server. And we can see in production, both Grafana and Prometheus deployed across two servers. And so that gives us a one-stop shop to see, what components are deployed where, across which environments. And if we want to get more information on how the applications are behaving, we can click into application logs here. I'm just going to filter on one of the servers, and we can see we have real-time data being streamed in from the application server. So if something was to go wrong with the application, you'd be able to take a look at exactly what's going on right away without going into another tool or having to set up additional tooling around that. And so that's a quick overview of the connect, build, deploy, and manage sections. The one final section that could be useful, and this may be more for business stakeholders, but could also be useful for the apps and ops side, is dashboards. So we do have the capability to view dashboards. And right here, we have a few different widgets that I'm just going to highlight today. And I think the most interesting one here is pipeline performance history. And so I'm able to drill down into the different pipelines I have and just get a quick glance of how things are performing. And we can see here that the Node.js web app build, roughly takes, 250 seconds to build. And it seems fairly consistent, except, this one here took a bit longer. But this gives me visibility into how the pipelines and deployments are performing across my applications template. So if I go back to the deploy tab here, we have what's called application templates. And what these application templates are pre-configured applications that are ready to deploy into your cloud. And in order to do that, you can hit the launch button and it'll launch these applications into your cloud immediately, or you can hit the edit button and it will create a copy of that template in your pipeline section that you can adjust to your needs and then deploy it to your cloud. And the nice thing about application templates is right now we have a handful here, but we will over time have many more application templates as well as more complex configurations where you can start deploying clusters of, let's say, Jenkins servers or databases into the cloud with a couple clicks instead of just a single server and have it all pre-configured and come online.
And Dominic, we do have one question, and I'm getting some clarification in the chat window, but one question that's coming up is there support to have same configurations for multiple applications?
So I can create another server here and just redeploy that same configuration, or I can, let's say, remove Prometheus here, Grafana here, and now I am able to deploy it across the two, right? And the configurations that were defined here will apply to all these servers regardless of how you have this laid out.
So the clarity is, let's say I have 5 microservices and all of them are Node.js apps, having it been deployed in AWS, and all of them need a mail configuration, but I wouldn't want to configure the same thing for each one at a time. So is there a way I can have a reusable template?
I'm just going to add back Grafana and Prometheus and just show you how this could be done. So if this was I'm just going to use Grafana as the one app. That's going to be your Node app, right? So let's say that was your Node app. I'm just going to add Grafana again a couple more times here. And so these are your 2 Node apps. And then this would be your mail service configuration. What you could actually do is you could set up the binds for both these apps to talk to that mail service configuration. And then that way you only have to configure that mail service configuration once here. And then all of the bound apps would actually inherit that configuration. So that way you only have to set up once and everything will get that configuration. And that's how you could handle that situation.
Perfect. I hope that answers the question. And again, if not, please feel free to reach out. We can go a little bit deeper on this and happy to discuss further.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time today to join the webinar.
Dominic, thank you for sort of walking us through what ShuttleOps can do. We believe the no-code CI/CD solution really puts time and valuable energy back into developers to be able to sort of deliver applications, build applications, and build the innovation of tomorrow. That's a real business differentiator for everybody right now. So, ShuttleOps provides some efficiency there, but also a really easy way to get your applications to the cloud at the speed of innovation. Thank you everybody for your time. We'll be doing webinars on a regular basis. So if you have not subscribed to our newsletter or communications pathways, please do, and feel free to reach out at www.shuttleops.io. We look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.